What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Nifty Dimensions. I am Rizzo, your host. Tonight, I have a special treat for you, an amazing visual artist known for work with such artists as Tipper, Spangle, and Bass Nectar. Definitely one of the heads of Microdose VR and beyond, one of my favorite artists on the planet and in the galaxy. Please welcome Mr. Android Jones. What's up, Android?
You're very kind. Great to be here.
It's great to have you, man. I appreciate it. I've been kind of building up to this. The interviews, I don't do too many interviews on the show. I've been kind of spreading them out, but I've been kind of building up to this, man, because I've had some great people on here, but I can't lie. As far as most of the members of Nifty Dimensions, we're all kind of freaking out that you made it onto the show. So
yeah, I was on YouTube earlier today. I was watching a video that you guess you posted today. You know, I'm just like doing my thing. I listen to a lot of YouTube or audio podcasts while I'm working. And I just hear like my name mentioned and I kind of freaked out. I was like, oh shit, that's today. Wow. Okay. Got it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the thing I've noticed about the viewers. The viewers have been going up and up. We just reached 1,000 subscribers like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, already moving fast, but everybody's into the crypto. They want to know the crypto news. They want to know the news on their particular crypto coin or token that they're into. And I'm trying to bring them into the artistic realm and, hopefully give them some, you know what I mean? Some artistic love here and some, I think
I understand. I was watching your videos. You're just pumping those meme coins, huh?
Well, I'll tell you what, man, I'll cover everything. Honestly, like you'll see that, but no, there's been a couple ones. I covered a couple like absolute shit coins and I definitely pulled those videos down. Here we go. So let me ask you, there's a couple of reasons why I wanted to have you on the show. Like, I've been a fan for a good while. I got to play some Camp Biscos, and there were some artists that were playing Bisco much bigger than me. And I had started to hear about you from that point, because once you're in the EDM scene, especially like dubstep back then, and as we moved through, like your name became such a prominent name. I'm just wondering for like any youngsters out there, because I'm older, but I know a lot of younger people watch the show. I'm curious in your line of work and to break into such an awesome part of it and to be such a vital part of the visuals of some of the biggest names in EDM and music in general. Any advice for the youngsters that are looking to get a break on how to start in such a complex area?
I mean, just like the electronic music festival sort of scene.
Yeah, like how'd you get in with some of the biggest names in the biz? I mean, Tipper is one of my favorites, like no joke.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of my career just sort of naturally just took shape organically. Mm-hmm. Before I ever got into, I think what really got me into the electronic music scene or that community was probably Burning Man. My first burn was in like 2003.
Wow.
Before that, I was just kind of living your sort of like isolated artist life. I was working for video games, working for Nintendo, doing a lot of, as a concept artist, so doing a lot of concepts. Nice. And, I've been doing art all my life, and art was always really just like it was a very isolated ritual. I do it by myself at night in my studio, listen to like heavy metal or, and then I went to Burning Man and just saw people being, sharing their creativity within a community. And so I think one of the first lessons I learned, I remember I was at Burning Man and I wandered into this camp called El Circo and just saw this whole scene that I never could have imagined existed. And I think for me, like my first instinct was once I sort of realized that like kind of meeting a lot of people, feeling like I found a community of people that I've been really searching for. I think my instincts were initially like, but how do I become a part of this? And I think for any community that you see, if you see a group of individuals doing something that inspires you, and it inspires you enough that you want to be part of that, my first instinct was like, what do I do? Like, and how can I add value to these people? How can I be seen in a way that enhances their reality and collectively the whole community's reality? And,
right.
when I first got into it, digital painting, really, there really wasn't much of a desire for that. I think my first like intro into just like the festival music scene was, I started doing like airbrush makeup on people because I realized that like, oh, here's a beautiful group of total narcissists, and making them look better is valuable. So I taught myself how to kind of just use stencils and do airbrush makeup, and that kind of got me backstage because that's where I really wanted to be at the time.
Yeah.
And from there, I was still doing a lot of the concept art, doing workshops and digital paintings. Then I kind of realized like, well, I'm doing a lot of digital paintings, and so I could probably doing these digital paintings at workshops, like teaching students using the Wacom and Photoshop and Painter and ZBrush. And I kind of realized like at all these, when I started thinking at the next level of like, how could I intermesh myself with this scene and sort of justify spending more time with it, it was just recognizing it behind all these DJs. And, this is back in 2005 and 6, most of the DJs have a screen behind them and there's a VJ and visuals. And I was like, I could take over that screen and make digital art on that. And that's a lot of that's kind of where it started. But I think an important piece of advice I'd give to anyone that's really interested in kind of making it in involving themselves on, on the other side of the entertainment industry is that I think it was really important for me to realize early on that it's, especially from the visual component side of it, is that what you're pursuing, at least initially, and I see a lot of people just making it, distinguishing the difference between if what you're pursuing is a lifestyle or a career. In the entertainment, in the EDM scene, unless you're, the top of the totem pole DJ, you're most likely pursuing a lifestyle, and that's great. It can be a really exciting life. Full of novelty, meeting a lot of interesting people. Anytime you're performing and you're kind of taking this gift that you've cultivated, whether it's making music or art or dancing, and there's a lot of value that you'll get from putting yourself out there, getting on stage and feeling nervous. And, the work that I would do as I was making digital live paintings in front of 500 to 5,000 people, there's a particular type of creative friction that you can never recreate. The pressures. It's like the pressures that they can make a diamond, or you can totally collapse under the pressure. But it's a type of pressure and stress that I found it was pretty meaningful for me. I was able to create pieces that I wouldn't have created under any other types of conditions, because, you can really, you can lean in. That energy of all these people and their expectations, like it can be crushing at times, but once you gain enough sort of confidence under your feet, I found that I could actually really tap into the collective energy and the celebration of all of these people. And at certain times, channel that back into the work that I was creating. Essentially at the best of times, it was the creative process became almost a symbiotic feedback loop between me and the audience, me feeling their energy and trying to put that energy into colors and shapes and forms, and them seeing that and, being reciprocated. There's a lot of really amazing moments there. And so there's a lot, but it's really hard. It's also really difficult to make that like a full-time career too. Any of the work I've done and for me to survive as long as I have working within the context of music festivals and events and working with DJs, I've always had to find different ways of kind of financially supporting myself. I would support myself. I've probably pulled in more income from using the opportunity of working with a great artist, like a tipper, And, I've always made more money selling posters at the show than I ever would from the venue. So it's something you have to take that same sort of creativity that drives you, and be really creative around how you're making income. I'd use the images I would create on stage. I would then turn those into prints or turn those into posters for the next show. And, now it's an amazing time to be a digital artist. I never could have anticipated what a boon that the industry of NFTs have been. So, I could see individual artists kind of taking it upon themselves to find a way of, taking the content they're creating. And I think there's a lot of opportunities for artists to be more self-reliant and independent than we've ever had the opportunity to be in the past. Right.
Well, it's funny you mentioned this. I dug a little deep and I was looking at interviews that you've done. I found one that you were at a party. It's a random interview, and you're at a party and you're chilling on a couch with somebody and she's asking you questions, and you said something, and this was a few years back, and you said in the future artists will be something about artists being attached to crypto, and they'll have this artistic freedom like never before. And I was like, holy shit, I think he was talking about NFTs in like 2017 or 2018. Is that what I heard, or am I just crazy?
I don't know. It all blurs together now, but I could have, I've definitely said a lot of like really idealistic things in past interviews that I either don't watch or cringe when I watch them. So I might've gotten lucky on that one.
Dude, that one was rough. I'll spare you the details, but let's just say you didn't seem too happy to be chilling on that couch, and you wanted to be out of there. So it was funny as shit, but like there was a little gem in there, and you said that, and I was like, Freeman, I think he called out NFTs like, in 17 or 18, he was saying that. Like,
it's interesting. I have a friend named Lauren Lanning, who's he's a total legend within the sphere of video games. He's the creator of any of the Oddworld games. I don't know if you ever got a chance to play any of those, like
of course.
Odyssey.
Absolutely.
Lauren, absolute legend of a man, and I'm really grateful to have maintained a really great relationship with him over years. I think we got together maybe first time like 2007 or 8.
Wow.
And man, I remember we were back in the concept art days. I had this company called Massive Black, and Lauren was kind of just like an ally and advisor. We had invited him to a few of the workshops as like a keynote speaker. And I remember there was this big meeting we all had kind of around the big one of those big office meetings with I was one of the co-founders of the company, and Lauren was there, and he gave us like this whole big pitch about, creating digital art with, your own unique identity, tied to maybe like your fingerprint or like a blood. He had these different, he was sort of brainstorming like what the application would be. But essentially what he totally was pitching to us back in 2007 was what NFTs are now. And it was just it's so interesting to go back. I remember the meeting ended up, I think our president Manley ended up getting in some sort of like weird, like ego argument with him at the time. And so the whole pitch like crashed and burned into flames. But yeah, that's the first time that when I look back and think of anyone that I knew that had the insight to sort of predict what NFTs were, I totally want to give props to Lauren Lanning for being super insightful.
Man, that's interesting. I'm glad I asked. When I heard that, there's a lot of things that I want to go over, and I'll try to keep it to a minimum. But when I heard that, I just had to make sure to bring it up to you because I just found it really fascinating. I've seen your NFTs. I've seen you're selling all over the place, right? I was at your website. I know you have pieces in a few different areas from what I recall, right?
Yeah, I primarily, I'm really, really, really bullish on SuperRare. Like that was, and I was really fortunate. One of my, another artist who I had taken some time to kind of help advise and during his kind of early steps in digital art, and a great NFT digital artist, Glass Crane. And he had been just hounding me for months and months that I got to get on this NFT thing. And that was over a year ago. I think that was like August in 2000. And, or maybe, no, even, I think August of 2000 is when I started my SuperRare account, but he was trying to get me on even earlier than that. I was really ultimately grateful for his enthusiasm for really being the guy that kind of got me into NFTs and got me excited about it. But I've done some collab drops with him on Nifty. Nice. I did a drop on Maker's Place last year. Got another one sort of coming up, but I don't know. By and large, I think out of all the NFT platform experience that I've had, SuperRare has just been, beyond all my expectations of what a meaningful and supportive community and founders are. They're the one guys that are just doing it. They're doing it so right, and so I consider them really just like my NFT home. And so all the major one-of-one works will hopefully be published to their platform.
Nice. That's great. Yeah, SuperRare is legit. That's pretty much the top of the food chain right there, as far as I've seen. Yeah, that's great. I'm a fan. I like, don't get me wrong. I do like Nifty Gateway. I've seen a lot of great pieces on there as well. I think I saw when I first I just got into this in like March. I just heard about NFTs in March or maybe February, and then learning the purist in me. I've been a guitar player since I was a little kid. I've been an artist and a musician forever. And at first the purist was like, no, this doesn't make any sense. Like, that's not worth anything. But I didn't understand the blockchain. I had no concept of crypto yet. I had turned down free Bitcoin years ago when people were trying to hook me up on a tour bus, and I was just totally, I didn't get it. But everything totally changed. I started to see that. I definitely saw some stuff, Nifty Gateway. Yeah. And SuperRare, man, that's legit. I am not on SuperRare. I have not earned that title, but I did get on Foundation, which is good for somebody like me. But yeah. But listen, I have other stuff I want to go over, and I could geek out for a while with you, man. So will you let me geek out on just one unplanned question?
Indulge.
All right. You said you like metal. I gotta know, what metal have you been into? Where'd you start, or favorite guitar player, whatever? What metal do you like?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I think back in high school, I was really into punk, like really into like Dead Kennedys. Through college, like I don't know, I've always just been a huge like Misfits fan, and for better or worse, like Danzig fan. I don't know, that music just really spoke to me at a particular time, and I think around the time, but I was, I guess as far as like contemporary metal-ish kind of like bands that really had a big impact, obviously like Tool is, they're on in a league of their own. Hard to really compare them to other bands out there, but
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know. I was living in Austin, Texas for a time, and so there was definitely kind of a scene out there. I remember like the mosh pits used to be. I used to have this just, I don't know. I'm not a really physical, violent person or anything, but yeah, I could get into this. I used to have this different kind of a strange like breathing technique, but I used to just totally have these like transcendental mosh pit moments of like almost sort of like leaving my body. And awesome. Yeah, so I don't know, so there's a lot of like High on Fire.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah,
actually, he's the lead singer of High on Fire is making a new album with Brent from Mastodon. They started a new project they just announced. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, Mastodon's awesome for
hell
sure.
Yeah. Have you checked out the new album?
I haven't yet. No, I haven't. I think I might have. I saw somebody with like a Mastodon shirt a little while ago, and it reminded me like, wonder what they're up to.
Masterpiece.
Yeah. Huge Melvins fan.
Nice.
Definitely. I don't know. I think some of the best music, I look back on my playlists, and like there was this, I think it was when I was in college between 96 and 2000, but man, there's a lot of Spotify playlists I have are music that's really focused around that time, and it's between like Autechre and Tupac. I have a pretty diverse taste in music.
Yeah.
Mostly like, I'm not a big lyrics guy, but there's definitely like some bands that really, they just cut to the core of the human experience with some of the words that they have. So, but yeah.
Nice. That's great. And there ain't nothing wrong with the mosh pit. I grew up in punk and hardcore. I'm from Philly, but we'd be in New York all the time for shows. I got to hit up even CBGBs when I was young. So like I very much value the mosh pit. We always used it as a place to get out the aggression, take care of each other, pick each other up off the ground. And I found so much unity in the punk and hardcore scene growing up. That's where I started in music. So that's interesting. I had when you said metal, I just had to ask because I'm a guitar player and metal is totally like my forte. So
Cool.
yeah, definitely. Nice. All right. Well, let's shift over then. I would love to get into some microdose VR talk here if you don't mind. I won't hold you too long though, man.
No problem.
So yeah. Can you tell the viewers a little bit? I've been talking about it little by little over the last few months, just because I've been trying to learn and understand VR. It's a new world and concept to me. I've tried it a few times, but I have not jumped fully into it. So, I am going to ask you your recommendation for a headset because I plan on getting myself one for Christmas. But yeah, if you could tell us a little bit about what you've been up to and all, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I started, guess it was around like 2016. It was right when like the Vive, I think the Vive it was before the Vive had come out. I've had some, like, throughout my career, I've had some good relationships with, like, just different, like, technology partners. Really just, like, I had a great friend that worked for HP and NVIDIA. And I'd gotten those relationships through meeting them. We used to have different kind of corporations sponsor the, like, digital art workshops we did in the past. And the HP office is actually just like maybe like 40 minutes away from where I'm at. He invited me out to get to check out what we got. He had a Vive headset and he put me in Tilt Brush, like in their headquarters. And it was like the first time I had really interfaced with VR. And I just had something just really clicked for me. And I really saw like a new path into the future for just that. It just kind of rang all my bells of the things that I've been sort of, I think as I had been making visuals and doing a lot of like real time, all the visual work I've done for whether it's like live painting or using different particles, I've always been really interested in, I love technology. I love tools. I love digital art tools. I love new pieces of software. And I think I'd kind of come to this sort of kind of a bottleneck point of feeling like, mentally, you can definitely, there's so much you can do with a digital tool and a Wacom to kind of a transference of your ideas and thoughts into a digital space. It's almost unlimited, but I always felt like there was a kind of a bottleneck for the bandwidth of the amount of almost like physical body kinetic energy I could put into a thing. It's like I have a collection of like the massive, like extra large Wacom and 204 tablets. And I would use the largest tablet possible because at least it accommodated the most amount of nuances of arm and wrist and like finger dexterity. I'm always sort of looking for a way. A lot of my creative process is there's a physicality to it. There's kind of almost like I'd say a more of like an embedded intuitiveness to the strokes that I make. That's something I've become more and more aware of over the years that I really wasn't, say, like a decade ago. But I have a condition, like a mental condition called aphantasia, which is, it's basically a mind's eye blindness. So I don't see in pictures. I don't have a visual imagination to speak of. I close my eyes and it's just like black, formless, depthless static.
Right.
And so
wow,
I make all my decisions that I can, what sort of got, since I'm not guided by a vision, I'm really just guided by, I'll just put a stroke down or make a shape. And there's just like a feeling that I follow. And so creativity is really tactile for me. and just the ability that there could be a form of making art that I could actually use like both of my hands together within like a 3-dimensional space, you know, because with the Wacom, you pretty much have an X and Y axis, and like your Z axis is essentially how hard or soft you're pushing with the tip of a pen, which is incredible and also a bit unsatisfying. So just realizing that there was a tool that was going to open this whole new axis and you know, literal dimension of creative input. Yeah, it really got me going. And so I pretty much pivoted whatever I was doing at the time and just realized like, hey, I'm going to be a VR. At first I was just like, I'm just going to be a VR artist, and I'm going to be the artist that works with whatever the best VR tool set is out there. And then after doing that for a while and kind of using Tilt Brush and, you know, enjoying myself, but also again, coming up with sort of the friction of the limitations. I just started, my mind just wouldn't stop thinking of the things that I wished that it would have done. And I just got to a point of realization of that, like, you know, that the application that I wanted out there didn't exist. And that if I wanted to bring it into existence, I was going to have to develop it myself. And, you know, fortunately, through my kind of community, I had a friend of mine named Fong, who's one of the smartest, most like technically minded people that I knew. And I kind of pitched this idea to him, what kind of a tool that I wanted to make, and that I felt that with technology, it was really in our grasp. And we started researching it, looking into the Unreal Engine. We taught ourselves Unreal. He brought along another friend of mine named Scott, who's an incredible engineer. And through, I guess, our own kind of enthusiasm and, you know, reckless naiveness, we decided to form a virtual reality company called Vision Agency. And we've been working together on projects and working on development and the evolution of Microdose ever since. It's actually got Microdose right behind me. So
wow. I was wondering what was behind you. It looks like a lot of colors and insanity.
Yeah, I'm just trying to flex all my monitors.
It's awesome. That's what's
so long to set it up like this, so I hope you like it.
Oh man, no, that's cool though. That's really cool. Yeah, I have this dream. I practice Qigong. I'm pretty obsessed with Qigong. I'm also obsessed with the solfeggio. I own a set of solfeggio tuning forks, and I've been developing this Qigong practice called Pinlu Qigong, which is just frequency Qigong. And I've been using the tuning forks in this motion. And I keep seeing like, oh shit, this could be something in VR later, where you have this immersive binaural experience with this frequency's over here, this one's over here, it's building a new one here. You know how it all works. I don't have to ask. And and I keep thinking like, wow, imagine the trippy visuals as the tuning forks move. And like, I don't know how it all is going to work, but I'm mapping it out up here. And I already have the Pinlu Qigong set for, like, you know, in real life. So it's just a matter of incorporating it down the road. But that's, like I said, I'm still a total noob to all this. Yeah.
No, but I totally see where you're coming from. I think that was when you just describe, you know, these different motions that you're making and having audio sort of come from your hands in this. I think that's a lot of what really inspired me, was the idea, just as far as what VR makes possible as a medium. Like I'm really into like Marshall McLuhan, like medium is the message, and seeing it's very rare that within, you know, a creative lifetime, you would see sort of the birth of a whole new medium. And I think that's what initially got me really interested in VR. But I think it was a lot of it's really just we kind of come up with different, you know, theories or hypothesis, and then we just try to solve for those things, you know. And I think a lot of what we've been sort of looking at is trying to blur. I feel one of the things that VR sort of makes possible is just really blurring the line between dancer and musician and artist. I think trying to create a new type of a medium that encapsulated some of the most, you know, meaningful aspects of all those three into a new art form. Like, could you dance a song into existence? I think that's what it does make possible. Something we're really interested in is being able to, from, I think what we're trying to do with microdose, we're just really just kind of carving out like our own little corner of the metaverse. Some of the things that we see, like when you go into like the VR chats or different, there's going to be some big issues around your digital avatar and kind of your digital identity in this metaverse space, within the future. Okay. And, like when I don't spend too much time in the VR chats just because I'm pretty introverted and just kind of get uncomfortable in those spaces.
I understand.
But when I have, it's always, you're around all these like random avatars, and you can definitely glean a particular type of inference on a person based off like what their avatar looks like, or you could maybe hear their voice or their cadence or like how they speak. And, it's going to be I think when we kind of start having more serious conversations around like the metaverse, and one of the problems that I see, and that I think something I do really like about NFTs as far as being able to authenticate things, but I could see a big problem that we're kind of looking into is being able to, when you're in a VR metaverse, you don't have some of the sort of like the radar and the social cues that you have when you're meeting somebody in person. And I think one of the problems is really going to be like being able to suss out the authenticity of another person in this space, like, can you trust them? Like, are they who they say they are? And just, I mean, you have the like online predators on one level, and just people that you're just not going to vibe with, on the other end of the spectrum. And there's something about with microdose. It's like when you can watch someone, I could watch someone's movements in microdose without even an avatar, without like a cartoon animal head or any of those decisions. And just by watching the way that they move and dance, man, you can really get it in. You can really get a sense of a person that way. It's kind of like with within the festival space, there's like, I don't know if you're familiar with like the flow arts. It's like people that kind of like spin poi, and
oh yeah,
like there's a flow that people develop, and there's a very, we have friends of ours, Sharon, in prison, that own this company called Flow Toys, and they make all these different like flow apparatus gears, and they kind of have a saying that it's really it's exceedingly rare that you meet anybody that has a really good sense of flow that's an asshole.
Right.
Like, by and large, like if you get to that point, like you can probably have a conversation with them and find something in common. And so right. We're really into the idea of kind of your online signature being an extension of the way that you can kind of dance, the way that microdose can accentuate the way that you dance and move as a way of authenticating whether you want to invest time in exploring a relationship with another person.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. I'm glad you brought up the metaverse, because it's such a hot topic, over the last year, but over the last month, it's ridiculous ever since Facebook decided to change their name to Meta and all that.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that? Right. Huh? Any thoughts on that?
I don't know. I saw an article I read somewhere where a petition of like, let's stop calling it the metaverse now. Like, let's like a petition to like, now that Mark is trying to claim that territory, let's never use, I've never used that word again, and even though I failed because I totally brought it up in this interview.
Good call though. I feel you.
You know what I mean? Like, it was pretty, yeah, I couldn't make it through like all of that presentation, but the pieces that I did were so, I mean, just such a deep existential, just cringe on every level.
Thank you for saying cringe. I didn't know what other word to use. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's terrifying. Cringe is actually is just pretty terrifying.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, when I use the word metaverse, I think by default, I'm just referencing the memories I have of like reading Snow Crash. I just think of like hero protagonist and the metaverse that they designed there. I mean, ultimately, like it's an online space where, and it's hard to imagine that there's just going to be one metaverse. That's why I say I think the metaverse is going to be, it's going to be a crystal with an infinite amount of like facets that have varying degrees of overlaying real estate, upon each other. I think like there's different places that I sort of frequent online that like right now, the metaverse, it seems it is very kind of decentralized, in an interesting way. Like I think my metaverse would probably consist of like a lot of different isolated pockets. And I could see some types of technology in the future filling up the gaps in between to make it like more of a cohesive experience. But it's kind of anyone's bet right now how it's really gonna shape out. But
okay.
Yeah.
I left Facebook, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, maybe more. Like I didn't dig it. So now I just find it all crazy that I felt like I escaped it. And then I finally settle in and it's like, oh, Zuckerberg starts Meta. And it just was such a slap in the face to everybody, it felt like.
Yeah. I have a hard time trying to kind of like square up that his intentions have anything to do with like the enhancement of the reality of human beings or the end of suffering whatsoever.
Right.
Or even making something cool. Like, I just don't think that, I mean, it's ambitious that he does make a flex like that. Like, as a VR developer, like there's some positives that like, here's a guy that's signaling to the entire industry that he wants to go in this direction. And I'm sure that there can be like, with any like major narcissists out there, like there's always going to be some like collateral benefit that may happen through their actions. Absolutely. Intuitively, I mean, my read, which might be pessimistic of it, I mean, I feel like why because you always want to think like, okay, why now, and what's he benefit from this? And if you look at Facebook, I mean, they're basically a company that makes their billions off, just mining our data.
Yeah.
They're a data mining company that kind of masquerades itself as like kind of like a social platform, but that's just the lure. I mean, it's not like, it's like a mousetrap company saying that what they make is cheese. It's bullshit. They make like the killing of rodents, violently and aggressively. And he's a total data vacuum. And so I can only imagine the pessimistic aspect of me I'd love to be wrong, but I'd imagine that what they see and like why Zuckerberg is so bullish on this metaverse is that, man, once they get a headset on, I mean, there's only so much data that you can get from like a one-dimensional like click. And as far, if you think about like the detritus of consciousness and the residue that's created from browsing Facebook and kind of going up and down and clicking on things and writing on things and liking or disliking.
Yeah.
And then you imagine, like, look at the amount of residue that is created when you have a headset on and it's tracking your eyes, and it's inevitable that we're going to start getting, EKGs and more biofeedback going into it. I mean, if he can get billions of people and get all of their eye tracking data, their biofeedback, their metrics, and record every interaction and every conversation they're having with other people. Yeah. I mean, if I was building, the super AI that I wanted to enslave humanity, that would be like on the top of my Christmas list, is to get a data set like that. So,
right. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Did you ever, there's a movie, a documentary came out called The Social Dilemma about a year ago. Did you see that by any chance?
I didn't see all of it, but I'm familiar with a lot of the insights in that. I was on a panel with him one time. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that was a very important documentary. I tried to send it to a bunch of friends and family, like, you have to watch this, but it was just, they didn't get it. And then eventually, I think everybody's starting to get it now. But yeah, I was kind of freaking out about that one, because it was like, here are the people that put all this together, got a conscience, and was like, wait a second, time out. We should probably let you know that this is what's going on. You are the product, period. Like, you are the product. You're like, so that was, that hit me hard. Yeah, for sure. But all right, well, listen, I got one more for you, and then I'm going to let you go, man. I don't want to hold you too long. And this one's simple. I ask everybody, don't get me wrong, if you want to keep going, we can, but I was late today.
Go for a while, but yeah. So shoot.
Well, listen, I want to know your first collectible or toy from a kid all the way on. What was the first thing that really inspired you as far as collectibles?
Oh, interesting. Man, I'm old enough to remember. I think I was in like first or second grade when like the Garbage Pail Kids came out, and
Yes.
I was all over those. I was in the Garbage Pail Kids.
You heard it here first, folks. Me and Android Jones have the same answer. Yo, I had the same answer. That's awesome. I lost
Interesting.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think after that, I can't remember if it was before. I think it might have been after that. Remember the Muscles? Remember
Oh,
those
yes.
like little pink dudes? Like, yeah, super into
Yes.
those things. But I think as far as like collecting and that, I think I collected those things just for the sake of collecting them. Like there wasn't any implied like this is going to become more valuable in the future motivation at all. It was just like
Right.
I love the art on these cars, and I went to Catholic school, so
Me too.
you know, like having a pagan Megan card was like pretty risque at the time.
Hell yeah.
Um, but I think the first time I ever thought I was collecting something and I thought that it was going to have some type of like intrinsic value in the future was probably around. I was big in the comic books, and it's just like a huge Silver Surfer fan, just like ride or die, fucking Silver Surfer. So I was really into all those old like Ron Lim, kind of the Thanos quest and like all the Infinity Gauntlet stuff I was really into back then. And then at around, I remember like I kind of hit my peak sort of comic book interest phase right around the time that like Image Comics launched. So you think about this like whole Image revolution with like Liefeld and like McFarlane and Valentino, like all that stuff. I remember I went to the year that they launched Image Comics. I actually went to the San Diego Comic-Con in San Diego. And I think it was just the hype around that, like thinking that like the signed like Wildcats #1 you had was like going to be, you know, was going to put my kids through college, you know, just having that sort of, you know, all these #1s just coming out back to back to back to back, you know, collecting all those. And I think I still have some of those like
nice
somewhere up in the attic. But yeah, I think that was like the first time I thought I was collecting something that was, and it was the same. It sort of coincided with the same sort of the disillusion that these things are not going to be valuable because they just printed so many of them because they were just riding this hype of thinking that they were going to go up in value later on. But I love the comics. I love the story. I love the artwork.
Hell yeah. That's great.
No regrets.
And Garbage Pail Kids, those were by far the greatest. I loved them. And it was the same thing. I didn't care about money. I was a little kid. I was like 6 years old, you know, like buying a pack of Garbage Pail Kids. I was born in the 70s. So like,
yeah,
I was there for all that.
I'm 77. They were so next level though. You know, it was so the way that being a little kid, like punching up to even like try to be on the level, like understanding just like the subtlety of like the jokes that they were making.
Yep.
And, you know, no commercials for them. You just like somebody at your school just like had some and showed you, and then you realized you could buy them at a gas station. Like, oh man, what a time! What a time to be alive.
Absolutely. Those were the best. Have you grabbed any of their NFTs? They're on Wax. I don't know if you checked any of those out.
Oh, are they? No, I haven't checked that out yet.
Oh, good. They didn't really take off. They sold, but they didn't, you know. Wax is it's very hard for projects to really hit big on Wax as far as I've seen. I'm sorry?
Is it? You think so?
Yeah, I do. At least I've had a Wax wallet for a while. It was one of the first things I got into, and I just think I love them, but I look at them as more of an onboarding kind of newbie situation where if you're new to NFTs and you want to get into it, you have to go through that learning curve that we all go through. And I felt like Wax was such an easy way to get used to it. You can send somebody a free one. There's no gas. Like so it was so easy that way.
I think that's what Wax was really designed. From what I've heard from kind of the creator standpoint of it, is that they want it was designed for people to use crypto without even knowing they're using crypto. I mean, it was really designed for that sort of like Disney, just like frictionless experience. So yeah, I haven't really gotten into Wax. I've been following some of that. Are you into like Tezos or Ticket Nut or any of that?
Yeah, a little bit on Hen. I don't know would you say Picket Nut? I'm sorry.
Hick and Nut.
Oh, Hen, right. I always pronounce it wrong. Yeah. Some of my NFT artist friends on Twitter, I didn't have a choice. They kind of like pushed me into it. Like, come on, man. Like, which is great because I really got shown around. The community's been awesome. Like as far as, and I wasn't really big on social media. So jumping into Twitter, I was a little hesitant, but everybody's been so great. All the artists have been so, it's like a team. Like I loved it. It felt like old punk and hardcore days where there was like this unification of like, yo, let's go get it. You know what I mean? Like, and I absolutely fell in love with that. And that's why I decided, yeah, I was making NFTs, but I wanted to be a part of it. So I wanted to make this show, and Freeman and I developed this show. And yeah, it was all literally for the love of the game. Like I've only spent money to do this. You know what I mean? Like I'm not doing it like trying to collect. I'm doing it because I don't know, like if I ever do collect, cool, but it's not for those reasons. I am so honored like to be able to do this with you. Like it's such an honor for me just to get to be somebody in the world that puts somebody like you in front of, in front of my audience, in front of whoever's watching. I feel very lucky to get to do it. So it's just been kind of insane for me. Like I know having a friend like Freeman who, luckily you and Freeman are cool. So you decide you came onto the show. Like that's so huge. So I just feel like a fortunate, I'm just feel very fortunate, and I feel kind of like a giddy little kid all the time throughout this show because it's just been a blessing. Honestly.
Yeah, well, you're doing a great job. I'm super grateful and excited for the amount of enthusiasm that you have around it and being able to support this space and bring artists and bring these ideas to more people. I mean, I learned a lot of the things I learned about NFTs. I do a lot, mostly kind of YouTube, Clubhouse. I'm in the same way. Like I've never really gotten my hooks into Twitter too much. But yeah, it's really important to have just a wide diversity of different people's experience and opinions. And yeah, I appreciate how you just every video I've seen of yours, you really have that enthusiasm and that passion that feels really authentic. So it's as a NFT artist, it's great to see people that are really inspired and turned on by NFTs. I think that's part of what sort of keeps us inspired.
That's awesome. Thank you. Well, then I'll just, the floor is yours, Android. Anything you want to say to the people at home, anything upcoming projects or anything you want to talk about, by all means, please let them know.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I have nothing. I just sold a piece on SuperRare, I think last week. I'm kind of still got a couple new pieces that are kind of in the minting process. I don't know, look for me on SuperRare. I putting together a drop on Maker's Place within the next few months. But we're doing I'd say like internally with my vision agency team. I have my hands in a lot of like very interesting projects now that are sort of like taking shape. Nothing that, I would need to like flex too much right now, but I could say definitely some PFP stuff and some really cool ways of, we're always really trying to find new ways of exploring this medium, and specifically a lot of kind of crossovers between NFTs and like we call it sort of like the micro metaverse that we're building in the Unreal Engine for the community that we have over there on our Microdose Discord. So you can pop over there, and we're there sometimes, and
nice.
Just follow me on whatever social poison of your choice. I have some type of an imprint on most of them.
Nice. All right. Yeah, I need to know when that happens. I definitely want a profile picture NFT. Please let us know whenever that happens down the road. Sure. I'm kind of a geek about that. At first I didn't get it, but now I absolutely, I'm definitely one of those people where whatever new NFT I got is probably my PFP. I joined that crazy cult that I actually, it's a goofy, fun world. And I think during these times, it's nice to have something to dive into and use as an escape. As much as it's important to face it and confront everything, I do love the idea of being able to get creative and have an escape and stay, you know, creating. It's what we're here for, you know?
Yeah, indeed.
Word. All right, Android. Thank you so much for coming on to the show, man.
Yeah, pleasure speaking with you.
Definitely. Everybody, there'll be links below for all his work. I'll have everything down there. And I'm sure I'll be playing stuff all throughout the video here for you to see his work. But definitely get on that. If you haven't checked out his stuff yet, please do. Android, thank you so much for coming on to the show, bro.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Everybody else at home, I will see you all very soon. Much love. And of course, peace.